I'm gonna keep this brief because it's juicy and I want the general public to watch it. Hello, my fam. It is Perez, the queen of all media, the original influencer, and her number one source for everything It Ends With Us saga. If my children want to be lawyers when they're older, I would be so happy. They're lawyers, and even more lawyers not representing any of the parties were working overtime this weekend. And their hourly rate is not cheap. Judge Lyman had to work over the weekend as well because parasite Patty filed an emergency motion. These children, and by children I mean JDs, the attorneys, are so at each other's throats that they could not come to terms with regards to a deposition for this week of a former Sony executive and the start time. They were bickering over starting at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. They needed the judge to intervene over that. And even more letters were flying and testy emails were sent because the Wayfarer parties misrepresented something. In their letter to the court opposing the basement manager's request to start at 8 a.m. versus 9 a.m., Ellen Garofalo for Baldoni and crew said that the former Sony exec, who now works at Paramount, would be available for a second date. However, that's not true. And even though Josh Greenstein, even though he no longer works at Sony and he's at Paramount now, Sony's lawyers are representing him with regards to this deposition for this coming week. And after Ellen Garofalo misstated things, the lawyer for Sony told Ellen, quote, Mr. Greenstein never said he is willing to appear for a second day of testimony if his deposition is not completed on September 30th. That is a purely fabricated and patently false statement. We demand that you correct your misstatement to the court. If you do not, we will submit a supplemental letter to correct the record and point out your perfidy. We are really quite shocked by your behavior. It gets better, including her diva demands exposed. I'm keeping this short, I promise. So, Team Wayfarer sent a new declaration explaining to Judge Lyman what happened. Your Honor, due to the abbreviated briefing schedule for defendant's response to Plaintiff Blake Lively's emergency motion, that is true, and their side does not have as many lawyers, which might end up being a problem. Team Wayfarer is being represented by powerful but smaller law firms. Manat and Wilkie Farr, who are on Team Ridicula, big. Some of the biggest in the country and most expensive. Team Litigious Lively filed this emergency motion on Friday to start the deposition of the former Sony exec at 8 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. And the judge said, if you have any response or objection, let me know by Saturday. These people also have lives or are trying to have lives, but they're very well compensated for not having much of a personal life these days. So, Ellen made a mistake and she told Judge Lyman, due to the abbreviated briefing schedule for defendant's response to Plaintiff Blake Lively's emergency motion, the response inadvertently omitted a word that changed the meaning of a sentence. Defendant's counsel regrets the error and apologizes to the court. A true and correct copy of the corrected response letter with the omitted word now added and highlighted is attached hereto as Exhibit A. Greenstein's counsel recently advised that Mr. Greenstein is only available until 4:30 p.m. on September 30th, 2025, but would not appear on a second date instead of but would appear on a second date. Well, naturally, her lapdog ruled in her favor. No surprise there. Lyman says, plaintiff shall question first and shall have 3.5 hours for on-the-record testimony, in addition to a total of no more than 30 minutes for breaks if requested by the court reporter, videographer, or witness. Defendant shall question second and shall have 3.5 hours for on-the-record testimony. There shall be a break for lunch of no more than 30 minutes after the questioning by plaintiff. Children. And I love it. And Ellen spilled so much tea because in her response to this emergency motion that she lost, she included so many emails that revealed a lot. It's absolutely bonkers how much back and forth this week there was over the deposition of this former Sony executive. They could not agree about anything. When Ellen told Team Kaka that she had a personal obligation that would not allow her to be there at an 8 a.m. start time, her lawyers shot back, well, there are many lawyers representing the Wayfarer parties, multiple of whom attend every deposition. Can't one of the other lawyers handle it? Team Wayfarer said no. But this email is the best. And I promise I'm going to end after this, okay? I'm keeping it short-ish, short. The very last email sent before Ellen Garofalo responded and included all of these attachments to Judge Lyman, Ellen, the Wayfarer attorney, told the oxygen inhalers legal team, because they're all CC'd here. Ellen writes, quote, despite your last-minute machinations and increasingly militant demands, defendants first noticed Tuesday's deposition for 9 a.m., and defendants' counsel will arrive promptly at 9 a.m. Further, in light of plaintiff's utter lack of courtesy and civility, we do not agree that plaintiff's examination will proceed first. We will begin our examination of Mr. Greenstein as properly noticed at 9 a.m. We will, of course, move to strike any testimony taken prior to 9 a.m. and any testimony elicited by plaintiff's counsel before the completion of defendant's 3.5 hours of examination. Pause. Unfortunately, as you heard earlier, Ellen did not get her way here. But we got our way because we found out this tea. Oh my God. On a final note, Miss Garofalo says, the escalating demands and complaints of plaintiff's counsel, including that our offices do not meet their standards, and thus all depositions must occur in the offices of plaintiff's counsel. Diva. Unrelenting refusal. Agree. I think she meant to agree. Unrelenting refusal to agree to even the most reasonable request by defendant's counsel, and overall efforts to intimidate and bully defendants are, to put it mildly, improper. The escalating demands and complaints of plaintiff's counsel, including that our offices do not meet the standards, and thus all depositions must occur in the offices of plaintiff's counsel, Diva. Unrelenting refusal to agree to even the most reasonable request by defendant's counsel, and overall efforts to intimidate and bully defendants are, to put it mildly, improper. We understand that Miss Lively, this is one of my favorite things I've read. Oh my! We understand that Miss Lively believes she is entitled to privileges and considerations not available to ordinary litigants, and that her counsel is merely following orders. That is no excuse. I am still awaiting for authority for the absurd notion that Miss Lively, as a plaintiff, is entitled to begin all cross-noticed depositions. I looked that up, and according to my dad, Chat G to the P to the T, Ku Klux Khalisi's lawyers were wrong. This is the rule. According to the rules of civil procedure, the party that noticed the deposition gets to question the deponent first. Court reporters usually recognize this order. However, Lyman ruled and did not go with what is the norm. He gave her what she wanted, yet again, because he's compromised, corrupt, in her pocket, biased. And Ellen gave us a tease of what we can probably expect this week, a fight over the location of depositions. Your offices are not good enough. I don't know about you, but I'm going to be sad when this is all over. I want it to keep going. I love it. I don't care. I love it. And you will love my merch. Pick some up. I've got Grab Your Friends, Wear Your Florals. I've got Team Truth and more. Check out all my official merch at buypopstuff.com. That's buypopstuff.com. Also, make sure you stay informed and entertained and get an exclusive podcast a week from me on our Patreon. Sign up right now on the Patreon website at patreon.com/myname. P to the E to the R to the E to the Z to the H to the I to the L to the T to the O to the N. And look at here, my eyes. I love making videos for you, personalized videos on the Cameo website. You can get one at cameo.com/myname, P to the E to the R to the E to the Z to the H to the I to the L to the T to the O to the N. If you watched until the very end, you are a superstar. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. You are the 1%. Hit that like button, share this video, and say Mariah in the comments section. That might confuse a lot of people, but when I think of divas, I think of Mariah Carey. So say Mariah in the comments to let me know that you watched until the end, and thoughts on everything. Oh my God, so much craziness over the weekend. Let's talk about it all. You know where. And Mariah, I love ya.